Breaking news! Old Adolf Hitler is at it again in the 8th World War II game and the 24th entry of the Call of Duty franchise. When will he be stopped? Unlike the people who fought in it, World War II never gets old. Out of the sheer excitement to return to the Great War once again, your favorite little boy in the whole wide world flew all the way to Hawaii so that he could visit Pearl Harbor in preparation for this great game.
I'm actually here at Pearl Harbor. I can't believe I'm on the set of a Michael Bay movie.
But here's the question on every gamer's lips across all 50 states. Is this game any good, or does it make you want to smack your head against the table? With 9 different studios allied together, working on this game in tandem, how could it be anything but the best? With his cigarettes of truth and his oxygen tank of honesty, Ren is fully prepared to review this game for you. So clock out of your job at the factory, suck down a sweet, sweet Siggy Wiggy, and gather around the radio for this episode of Ren's Reviews.
It's annual tradition here on this channel to take a look at the Call of Duty game and review the campaign, nice and thoroughly, you know? But this year I almost didn't even want to, as Call of Duty Vanguard was just so bland and forgettable. It was about as mundane as taking a trip to the Safeway here and just going shopping. I think a big reason as to why I found the game to be so boring is because it was far too easy. And as always, I played it on veteran difficulty. But for the first time ever, I played through this puppy on PC, meaning I could now destroy the Nazis with a simple flick and click of the mouse. Jesus, what's wrong with my aim? Oh, that's way better. Props to GamerSups for helping us win World War II. Make sure to use my code RENSReviews for 10% off your next purchase, but let's get back to the video. So in my mind, what makes for a good Call of Duty campaign is variety in not only location, but in gameplay mechanics as well. And at first, Vanguard showed a lot of promise. A promise it couldn't keep. The opening mission just throws you right into the action. You're on a choo-choo train, which is adjacent to another choo-choo train, and you get to jump between the two using moving cars as a platform, much like Nathan Drake himself. It was a little stiff and overly linear, but it was still kinda neat all the same. Then you go straight from choo-choo to under the goo-goo, duking it out on a submarine. And overall, I appreciate the bombastic nature of this mission. It was honestly kind of a solid introduction to the game. The second mission also began with promise as well, with a cutscene that was stolen straight from the film Overlord. It's D-Day, and flak cannons are tearing our plane to pieces, so we need to jump. But in all the kerfuffle on the way down, I lost my weapon. With no gun, I am naked. I hear the enemy all around me. In the dark of the night, I can see nothing. Nothing but the light from the bombs flashing through the trees. The only time I am blessed with the gift of sight is when a bomb falls on one of my brethren. Brethren I once loved like family. As fate would have it, I stumble upon a friend. Somehow, he is alive, but this sweet relief is cut short, as he's immediately shot and stabbed before my very eyes. A seething white-hot rage washed over me. In a flurry of vengeance, I rushed toward his attacker and stabbed him in the neck. I stare at his blood, which is now on my knife. This is the first man I've ever killed, and by God, I've never felt more alive. One of his friends tries to investigate the commotion, but I shoot him in his belly, and as his body flies backwards, I can't help but laugh. I laugh and I think of my mother. She would be proud. Now, I only have 2 bullets. Clearly, I'm gonna have to pick my battles carefully. I'm really gonna have to be thoughtful about my engagements, as ammo is incredibly limited. Actually, within seconds, I found more than enough ammo to get me through the entire war. And before you know it, I'm shooting Nazis like Hitler shot himself. That's hot. I was really expecting more here. I almost felt as though this mission opened up with a promise that it didn't deliver on. My mind swirled with ideas of an arcadey survival horror type situation, where I was being hunted by Nazis while having limited supplies and no support. But it quickly devolved into a standard, linear Call of Duty mission where you mindlessly shoot a bunch of bad guys, move up to the next piece of cover, and do it all over again. Then I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm the problem. Perhaps I'm the fool for expecting more out of a Call of Duty campaign. I mean, to be fair, this mission did have a mechanic where you could tell your squad what to do. You know, you could tell them to lay down suppressing fire on a machine gun nest, or tell them to shoot a specific group of Nazis, or you could even ignore the mechanic altogether and still be perfectly fine. So, what more do you need, right? There's really not much to say other than this mission was incredibly bland and forgettable. However, the third mission gave me hope, as it takes a moment to let the player breathe by slowing down the pace and building out the world, while also attempting to flesh out our new playable character by allowing you to examine things in her dad's house.
We should replace your old chair.
Never. It's comfy enough for me.
Truly riveting stuff. Thanks to this little detour, we now know that her father enjoys, sitting down. And we also know that our playable character used to play the piano, and that her mother is now dead. Which is all I need to become deeply invested with the classic character, Paulina the Sniper. You can also talk to people in the town, as terrifying as they may be.
Oh, Paulina, I saved a loaf for your family.
Спасибо.
You're welcome.
It is cool that you can do this, as it does make the world feel a bit more alive, but they kind of botched the execution. The NPCs' faces are all janky, they suddenly snap to life when they start talking to you. It feels pretty unpolished, to be honest.
Well, be careful out there!
Then we go from creepy talking to fast walking, as we're met with a simplistic platforming section where you have to look for yellow ledges to figure out where to go next, as though you were Nathan Drake himself. It's very linear and simplistic, but it does shake things up a little. Then immediately after that, the Nazis invade and you find yourself in a collapsing building, much like another video game character called Nathan Drake. Shortly after escaping the building, you're met with what is honestly a pretty stellar combat encounter. Here, you're given this huge arena with air vents to dip into and structures to climb on top of for a better vantage point. And once your position is compromised, you gotta hop back down and slide through some vents to reposition. You pop out of it and kill a Nazi or two before climbing back up to the second story to kill a few more. This is honestly one of the most fun gameplay moments Call of Duty has ever offered, as the arena is designed pretty well. There are plenty of routes you could take to hide or reposition. I was constantly on the move because I was heavily outnumbered. This was easily the most fun I've ever had during a Call of Duty campaign. But it was so short-lived, as the fourth mission here is where I lost all hope for the game. You see, they put you in the cockpit of a plane, and you're meant to shoot at other bad guys who are also in the cockpit of a different plane. There's something about the formula of dogfighting in video games that weren't initially made for plane combat that I find to be inherently unsatisfying. The whole cycle of getting behind an enemy plane, gunning it down, then an enemy gets behind you, so you gotta pump the brakes, which makes the bad guy fly in front of you so you can destroy him. It's just so repetitive. There's an art to dogfighting that games like Ace Combat and Crimson Skies really nail. It's an art that was completely lost on all 9 development studios for Call of Duty Vanguard. And it was here, at the midway point in the game, where I got so bored that I had to go outside and have myself a smoke break. The gameplay is just so stale. Stale as my mother's 3-year-old cigarettes. Yet here we all are, playing the same damn game every single year and smoking the same old cigarettes. Something's gotta change. The doctor told me that my lungs look like 2 raisins. Who knew that smoking 3 packs a day could be so bad for you? Oh my God, I need some Oxy. I gotta quit smoking. And you know what? I gotta quit playing these Call of Duty games and expecting something more from them. But at the very least, I have to finish this game. Because if I can see this thing through to the end and properly beat the video game, it'll be proof to me that I have the mental fortitude to finally quit smoking. I want to smoke it so bad. So let's do this. When I came back from my smoke break, I was met with a stealth section that nearly put me to sleep. I had to sneak past a bunch of Japanese fellas, and it was far too Japanesey. The game gives you an ability that allows you to see enemies through walls, so I was able to waltz past these guys with no trouble at all. I felt like I bumbled through it on accident. This character's ability completely removed the necessity to think. It filled me with emptiness and boredom. The boredom allowed my mind to wander, and it was here where it finally dawned on me that each playable character had their own separate mechanics, but most of them were so simplistic that they didn't even register as a mechanic to me. Meet me at the park near the generator in 3 seconds so I can elaborate. So check it out. Gamersub sent me this shirt of Amaranth pressing her bosom up against the glass, and I wouldn't be caught dead wearing this thing, but it does make for an excellent red screen. So let's talk about our characters, shall we? Up first, we got the Australian guy, so you know he's a bit sassy because he's from the big rock, and his gameplay mechanic is that he can hold on to lots of grenades. Yes, that's a real game changer, that one. And then we've got the British guy. He's smart, so he's in charge of everyone. His gameplay mechanic is that he can tell other people what to shoot. Then next we have a Russian lady. She's strong like a man. Her mechanic is she can crawl very fast, yes? And she can also climb walls, like man who is spider. She is the one who changes gameplay most. Then we have Wade, the hotshot American hero, and his big gameplay mechanic is that he can slow down time, see through walls, and lock onto enemy combatants. Meaning you no longer have to aim in a game where all you do is aim, somehow making Call of Duty even more simplistic. It was on the final mission where their gimmickry truly made itself known, as this level has you hopping between each playable character using their individual skills to crush the Nazis. As the leader, you're meant to look at an enemy machine gun and tell your teammates to open fire on it. But in order to do that, you need to aim at the darn thing yourself. So at that point, why not just take the shot, right? Then the focus shifts. We play as Catalina the Sniper. We need to clear this courtyard full of Nazis. Nazis that aren't very far away and therefore don't really need to be sniped, but also don't really shoot back at you. Then the focus shifts again. We now play as the Australian guy who can hold lots of grenades. We've got to take out 3 tanks, oh baby. But instead of using his grenades, I just picked up a bazooka that was laying around and I blew up the tanks with that. When you think about it, any old character could have done this. But then the focus shifts again. We're playing as the pilot, and we gotta clear this room full of Nazis with a gameplay mechanic that is essentially just an aimbot. Another task that any old character could have fulfilled. Oh. It was here where it became very evident to me that these were not mechanics, but instead they were mere gimmicks. Gimmicks with no legs. No legs like FDR towards the end. To make matters worse, the AI is god-awful. It's no wonder they lost the war. Nazis lie down in front of you and your squad, charge at you in a straight line, leave their cover for no reason or just stand out in the open, while others have no earthly idea how to even peek. The piss-poor AI made nearly every single combat encounter feel brainless. I've never known the Call of Duty games to have good AI, and that's a real shame because these games would be so much more fun if they gave us worthy opponents to fight rather than IGN employees. While the game did attempt to spice things up by adding things like dogfights, somewhat interesting arenas, and character gimmicks, most of it fell flat, because for one reason or another it just didn't work. And the rest of the game was filled with generic shootouts that offered absolutely nothing of interest. To be fair though, the sound design is pretty solid. The weapons sound powerful and bassy, the reload animations ain't half bad either, so at least there's that. And then the story itself had a lot of potential as it takes place at the very end of the war, shortly after Hitler kills himself. Now there's a lot you could do with that idea. You could really play around with the hierarchy of Nazi officers as they scramble to create a new Nazi regime or take control of the existing one, but instead, they didn't do anything with it. It was all just an excuse to have a one-dimensional villain who had no motivation, no backstory, and no character. He was just Hitler number 2. The entire plot was bafflingly contrived and predictable. And tell me this, why on earth would the Nazis place all 4 of our heroes in the same big jail cell together? You know, where they can communicate with one another and plot their escape? I'll tell you why, because it makes the story a whole lot easier to write. Overall, much like the rest of the campaign, the story was generic and forgettable. Once I'm done with this video, it'll be gone from my brain forever. But in a sick, twisted way, I didn't want the game to end. I wish the boring, painful campaign went on for 20 more hours, because then I could still smoke for just a little while longer. So I checked out the multiplayer for about an hour or so, and it seemed fine. Seems like something that would be fun in short bursts. I had a really good match in Search and Destroy, I had a decent little time in the other game modes too, but with the exception of Modern Warfare 2 years ago, I've never been a big fan of Call of Duty's multiplayer. I also checked in on the zombies mode, and my god, this is exceptionally bad. The gameplay loop is bonkers. We were all literally just sitting in a circle shooting zombies as soon as they spawned in front of us for minutes on end. Now I'm sure as the waves progress, things get a little more engaging, as I would assume you'd have to start running around and kiting the zombies behind you, but my god, I was bored out of my mind. So after 15 minutes, I opened up the menu, and I finally quit. As I exited the game for the last time, I was suddenly reminded of my time at Pearl Harbor. I remember staring off at the very same battleship that Cuba Gooding Jr. was on. I thought of all the Japanese planes he shot down in cold blood. Then I saw all these names of all these people who worked on the set of the movie. Why they chiseled the ending credits into this slab of marble is beyond me, but it got me thinking. Is there more to life than just Call of Duty and cigarettes? I think it's time for me to finally quit smoking and maybe even playing Call of Duty games altogether. So long. They say steak tastes better when it's smoked. This thing's gonna be delicious. Quitting smoking for good isn't gonna be easy. The cigarettes filled a void in my soul. A gaping, empty chasm that I can already feel creeping back inside me at this very moment. I'm really gonna miss smoking. Without cigarettes, I am lost. Anyway, I'd like to thank my patrons. Just letting you guys know that each and every dollar I get from Patreon goes right back into this channel, meaning I can get more costumes, more props, and pay for more elaborate stuff. So, if you want to see the quality of this channel continue to grow, go ahead and become a patron. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.